You want to be earning or learning. And the sweet spot is if you can do both, right?
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fitz and Franson show. I'm Fitz, and as always, joined by my good buddy here, Jay.
And I'm Franson, and this is the only show that peels back the curtain on what it actually takes to build a business, a brand, and a life that doesn't just look good on paper, but feels good in reality.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of reality, we're excited today to have a guest with us. Hopefully, he's going to help lift the show a little bit for us today, Jay. But he's a powerhouse, I know, in the business world, and a leader who has been instrumental in scaling a national brand and still working to see where the sky is the limit, so to speak. And just recently, I know a happy father of 4 at this point, too. So we're thrilled to have and welcome Vice President of Sales from Penntek, Mr. Jake Thomas.
Yeah,
going,
Jake,
guys?
welcome.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
And congrats on the addition of the family. Matt and I have talked back and forth. I've got 5 kids. Matt has 1. I hear you are sitting in 4 kids. Do you sleep? Do you sleep at all?
4. No, I tried. I was in lieu of being on today, I was like, I'm going to try to get some sleep last night. And I think I was only up 4 times. So we'll make it. It's all good. I'm well caffeinated. So it's all good. This is kind of one of those experiences where I get to say I'm a long time listener, first time caller. So this is kind of big for me. It'll be on my resume by the end of the day. So
there you go. We'll check the LinkedIn and see the update here soon. So, well, congrats on the new addition, man. That's exciting. And
thank you.
I joked with Jay earlier that you guys up north are pumping out kids way faster than we do down here. And it must be because it's colder up there for some reason. So, well, today I know we're going to get into some maybe the work-life balance stuff. It's probably a good thing for leaders to know and talk about. But first, maybe we'll set the stage a little bit here. Jake, I know, has had, for our listeners out there, a pretty interesting journey in your career. Started off as an intern in sales, from what I understand, and now all the way to the VP level, which is impressive. And you have some great perspective on building teams and networks. And we're going to get into your opinions on the things like running a successful sales team or meeting, that type of stuff. And maybe how many people get some of those things wrong and where they did so.
Yeah. Fortunately, if I've learned anything in my short tenure, it's that I know very little and every day find out more things that I have no idea on. So I could at least share some of my mistakes and learnings along the way. So
I love that. So let's start here. A lot of people see a title like vice president and assume is just a straight shot to the top. So if you would, Jake, why don't you walk us kind of through your journey? This wasn't just handed to you, right? Like you got out of college and people are like, here's your executive title.
No, really cool journey. And, I kind of joke, I wish maybe I would have picked one industry and stayed in it, but I bounced around a little bit. And I think there's, it's like being a well-rounded athlete. I think you learn a lot by being in different industries. And so, I can kind of look back in every kind of stop along my career journey, if you will, and see what I gleaned and what I learned in each one. First job at college, I sold commercial real estate. So I sold industrial properties, warehouses, and it was a grind. It was a really hard first job out of college. I joke with my former boss, who's still, I consider a business mentor of mine, and we still chat often, that, if it would have been my second job out of college, I probably would still be working for him. But it was a really tough, long sales cycle. For someone that was young, to work in a 12 to 18 month sales cycle was really hard to stay motivated. So sold really large commercial and industrial properties and started as an intern there and became an associate and kind of worked on that. But that was, looking back on it, I had the absolute privilege to work for a very, very intelligent, but very high integrity business leader. And so to have that be my foundation, to work for a guy that didn't cut corners in that industry, there are some corners to be cut that can be very lucrative. And I watched a man that never sacrificed morals or integrity in order to grow his business. And so that was the number one thing that I got to learn from Jerry. And still carry a lot of the values that he instilled in me as a young man. And so that was really cool, and worked for him for about 4 years, and then had an opportunity to join a startup, so to kind of scratch the startup itch, which was pretty cool. I had been connected to a kind of a tech software startup out of Minneapolis, and that was wild. I came in very early in the journey. I think I was employee 18 or something like that. And we scaled to about 160, 170 employees, 3 different rounds of funding, VC backed. And it was really cool, right? It was really cool to see a business kind of scale at that speed, and to be able to add the guardrails as they were, I kind of joke they're building the track as the train is rolling down. And it was awesome. It was super fun. I swore I was never going to leave. I was going to be there forever. And COVID wiped out the business, which was just kind of a cautionary tale, really wild. I mean, we watched our revenue fall by 90 some percent in, about 8 weeks. I mean, it was really wild to see. And so that was such a cool opportunity to be able to learn from some really awesome business leaders that had a lot of 10-year experience in the software and tech world. And so just continued to learn there and got to work with teams. I led sales enablement, which is just a fancy word for helping salespeople sell better. And so got to work with that and got to onboard all of our inside sellers. And so got really intimately tied with the inside versus outside sales model, which I think was the most beneficial piece that I gained from that organization. And then, I had met the owner of Penntek in just social settings and sat by each other at a dinner one night of kind of a charity nonprofit dinner, and got to know him. And a couple years later, he had been kind of hounding me and harassing me, and the time was right to look at something a little bit different. And so started at Penntek, and the Penntek journey has been awesome, and it's been wild, and it's a lot of change really, really fast. I mean, realistically, I've been at Penntek for just shy of 6 years, but the business looks completely different than when I started.
Yeah.
And so, it's been fun. I just kind of feel like, every now and then I'll meet with like younger people in their career, and I'm like, man, with every kind of professional stop that you make, I always say you want to be earning or learning, and the sweet spot is if you can do both, right? So if you can earn a good income, and if you can learn from good people around you, that's the holy grail. But at the very least, wherever you're at, you should be earning or learning. So that's kind of the words to live by, I think.
I like it.
I love that. That's really good. And I like that you commented early on, you're like, kind of thought it would have been nice to have stayed in one industry, but the earning or learning comment at the end is you can really gain a tremendous amount of value for yourself. And then for the next stop on your journey, as long as you're focused on taking something away from each place that you're at. That's really good.
Yeah. It's an awesome story.
Well, and that's where it's like I started at Penntek, and kind of some of the things that I did early on here, we didn't have an inside sales team. So I brought an inside sales team in, and that was pretty instrumental for us to have scalable new customer acquisition and things like that. And our owner kept being like, man, how'd you come up with this? I'm like, I didn't come up with this. Like, I'm ripping this off from the last guy. You know what I mean? Like, like there's nothing new. I'm just the conduit of information. And so I think, realizing that there's people way smarter than you that you can kind of stand on the shoulders of. That.
No reason to maybe reinvent the wheel, as the saying goes, right? For sure. So it is an awesome story, and I think the eclectic, the eclectiveness of that journey is really good, especially for people that are kind of getting just started in their careers and in their world and figuring out maybe what it is they really want to do when they grow up, so to speak. I'm still working on that myself, I guess.
Yes.
Jay and I talk a lot with some of the people we work with, and some of the setting up those standards of like, how do you, earn your stripes along the way, that kind of thing. And how do you give people opportunities to learn their stripes? If there was something maybe you were going to share with like a younger individual getting started in their career, whatever that journey starting point is for them, that maybe you took from one of those stops that you said, man, I'm glad I did this. It worked out really well for me. And now I have this bit of information that I otherwise wouldn't have had that you're still using today as a VP at the level you're at now.
Yeah. Patience is a virtue. I think in today's day and age, we've seen all the stats like, if you job hop every 18 months, you'll earn X dollars amount more by the end of your career. But I just think that we've got a lot of people that want it now, and to realize that there's some patience that needs to come along with that. And I'm not saying stay stagnant in a role or in a company for, way longer than you should, but to realize that there really is no substitute for time. And now being on the kind of leadership side and leading the team, it's like there's some skills that take a while to kind of build on and to develop, and to realize that it's going in day after day, week after week, month after month, and in some cases year after year, and realizing that like, look, this isn't going to be instant. I think all of us kind of can fall into the trap of like, oh no, I'm ready for the next thing now. And then I look back on previous times in my career, and it was like, no, I had no idea how to lead a team at that time. It applied for a regional manager position in a previous company, and had gotten passed over for it. And at the time, it was like the sky is falling for me. And I look back on it, it was like, I'd have failed it would have been
Mhm.
terrible. Whereas I had another year under my belt and got to learn and then step into a leadership role. It's just like patience it's a virtue
Yeah.
and we don't need it all right now. And you look at the gamut and we got a lot of time.
Mm.
I like Gary Vee, right? And so Gary
Yeah.
Vee is always one to preach about where you're at in your career. You got a lot of time left and you
Mhm.
don't need to be there tomorrow. And I would hate to put things in a microwave or to speed things up and then fail down the road. So I'd rather
Yeah.
kind of build the infrastructure that I need now so that when the time comes to step into something different or something new, I've got the skills to be able to make sure that it's, that it's successful.
It's really good.
Yeah, I
That's
like
really
it. I
good.
think it's one of those things where, Jay, you were just talking about this too, where there's a lot of leaders, right? Even people that have made it to that spot, like started their company, own their own company, that are, well, might be stealing the words here from you, but that are, almost terrified of that slow down and figure it out kind of pace, right? And I think that that's an important thing to know, that it's better to get it right sometimes than it is maybe to go headfirst into the wrong thing, or to use your microwave analogy, the half baked idea, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you got it fully prepared. So I think that's a
Mhm.
big thing. And that's I guess maybe kind of summarizing it, ego tends to be the thing that gets in the way. So that might be the biggest enemy of growth for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think all of us know people that it's like, boy, humility is such an underrated superpower. Like
I know.
I was on a podcast not too long ago and I kind of shared like some of the most impressive business leaders that I've gotten to sit in rooms with, presidents of, huge, huge companies. They're all humble. Like it's
Yeah.
like once you get past middle management, like once you get into C-suite stuff for companies of size, it's like everybody seems to be humble. And it's like, boy, man, if you can have that at the beginning, like I just think it fast tracks you.
For
And
sure.
Lord knows as time goes on, you get humbled a lot. And so I think
Mhm.
the sooner you can learn that you don't know what you don't know, I think is beneficial. And I'm working on it every day. I need a daily dose of humility, and I think my wife and kids do a good job of giving me that. So
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
yeah,
go. Yeah, they
yeah,
they seem to find funny ways of doing that on a daily basis. I'll
yeah, you bet.
have to
Mhm.
share a story later about the one my son gave me this morning, me being super old at this point, which was a lot of fun for me. So,
I love it.
well, let's maybe shift a little bit. We can talk about how you're applying some of those lessons to what it is you do today with
Yeah,
Penntek. For those many, many listeners we have out there who may not know what it is that Penntek does or who Penntek is, can you share with us
yeah.
what Penntek actually does?
Yeah, so we're an industrial chemical company that focuses on coatings for concrete. And so we manufacture that really attractive, pretty looking speckled garage floors that you see in people's homes and industrial commercial applications for that as well. So we manufacture resinous flooring. So liquid floors. We operate through a dealer model, which I had no idea what a dealer model was until I started at
Mhm.
Penntek. So I got to learn about that. So it's almost franchise light. And so our goal is to help assist people in growing their businesses and to stand up new divisions within their company. So we try to give them as many resources as we can, whether it's training, marketing, sales support, installation support, things like that. And what I love about it, and I've got a pretty good relationship with our owner, is he is a installer at heart, and so he really cares about
Mhm.
the installer and the people that are putting down a floor every day. And so the goal is, man, if we can help you grow your business, you're going to end up buying more product from us. And so it's a symbiotic relationship that works really, really well, and certainly not without its pitfalls or challenges, but it's one that I think I sleep easy at night, knowing that our goal every day is to help people grow their businesses and to make their lives a little bit easier. And so focus on residential and commercial concrete coatings and work with about 200 companies across the country, all 50 states. What was our 50th? I'm trying to remember now, but we ticked off our 50th state this year, which is great. And so really enjoy kind of getting the network together. We have a strong network. I mean, I think the line I use and joke with is the secret sauce of Penntek is our customers and people that are willing
Mhm.
to help each other out and people that are willing to help each other grow and people like you guys, honestly, that are there to help business owners grow profitable, successful, and integrity filled businesses is huge. So I
Yeah.
have the joy and distinct privilege to get to do that every day.
Yeah, that's really good. I love the comment that you sleep well at night. I think that the humility part plays into that too, where you just honestly go, "Hey, I have an opportunity to help others." How great is that? It's one thing I
Yeah.
like to do at Powerful Media is we've seen so many companies come in and go like the owner of Pentech, "Hey, I'm kind of an installer." We see a lot of businesses that start because they know how to install a floor
Mm.
and they're like, I don't even know how to tackle ads, or I don't know how to tackle lead gen or sales. And we say, well, let us just be your partner. One of our biggest compliments we
Yeah.
get is we're considered part of their inside marketing team. even though we're
Yeah.
technically third party, we're not. And that's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. You end up being part of the family, really. And that's cheesy. I
Yeah.
hate people that refer to their business as families, but it is what it is. So
Yeah. Yeah, they say in the entrepreneurial space, people view their business like the brain chemistry is the same firing synapses as when they speak about their children. So to talk about business
interesting.
as family, there is actually a physical reaction to that. So I don't think it's
I can
necessarily
see it.
cheesy, but I know what you're saying for sure. Work is work, right?
That's it.
Yeah, I feel like it's always a red flag when somebody goes, "Oh, we're family at this company." It's like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
I spend enough time with my family, so
There's,
no, I'm
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, some of them it's, on holidays and around there and you're out of town kind of quickly, for sure. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no doubt
for
about
sure.
that.
You
Well,
bet.
typically I guess at this point when we're recording a show, Jay and I have some sort of maybe lighthearted disagreement about a point where sales and marketing, we see things maybe a slight bit different at times. And when we have a guest, they get to be the mediator. But I would say, truth be told, when it comes to like this as a topic and when it comes to creating a strong dealer network, we're all in agreement. We've seen it work too many times in too many different places. And it really becomes for both maybe a dealer and for an organization that's manufacturing their products, just a massive advantage when you're going to market. So maybe instead of debating whether a dealer model would work or not and pretending like I disagree with it, maybe I figured we could ask a harder question, so to speak, for you here. So, what, in your opinion, puts a dealer network like Penntek at its biggest risk, and like specifically, I guess what do you see from maybe dealers or the network as a
Mhm.
whole that you feel confident as a manufacturer that the business is being driven forward or in the right direction?
Yeah. Yeah, and in full transparency, it's something that I would say we're improving on every day. And that's
Mhm.
honestly our brand positioning in the marketplace. I think we're in a beautiful window right now in the concrete coating space. It's still a relatively immature home improvement category. We're seeing it mature very quickly. Just in the last 6 years that I've been in the industry, we're seeing it more and more. But we have an opportunity as a brand to really position ourselves as the leader in the space. I could stop 100 people on the street and say, tell me the first brand that comes to mind when I say concrete coatings. I would venture to say just about nobody is going to say a brand,
Mhm.
and so we have the opportunity as the manufacturer by way of our network to establish that brand. And the beauty is we've got 200 companies across the country that are carrying our flag for us. And
Mhm.
our responsibility then is our responsibility is to our customer to make sure that we're continuing to give them a good product to install and a good brand to stand behind. But we've got this window where, in our goal at Penntek, we wake up every day and we say, hey, how do we become that flagship brand when
Mhm.
somebody thinks about concrete coatings? And so that's our biggest opportunity, but also our biggest challenge is how do I grow the brand without spending millions of dollars on brand awareness campaigns to make sure that we grow? And really, it comes from the dealer network. And so it's being
Yeah.
able to have just world class home improvement companies that are doing a great job and giving them the tools and the resources to be able to say, hey, not only do we install concrete coatings, we're a Penntek dealer. And we're
Yeah.
proud to be a Penntek dealer. And we're proud to partner with a brand like Penntek. And that's the biggest challenge, hands down, because that means that we have to provide value outside of just the material. And we have to provide some of the support, some of the branding, some of the national presence to be behind it so that people say, hey, I don't just want to be a concrete coatings company. I want to be a Penntek dealer. I want to
Yeah.
install a Penntek floor, not just, resinous flooring.
Yeah, that's really good. And really, at the end of the day, the strength of the model is the responsibility of their model. When it
For
works,
sure.
it scales. Leaf
Yeah.
touched on that. Ownership, equal trust. One of the things that I like about it is we all do big box stores. We do Walmart, we do whatever these places that we need to go to, maybe because it's pricing or convenience. I think everybody also loves to say, "Hey, I bought from my neighbor," or
Mhm.
oh, yeah, I have a buddy
Mm,
that his buddy runs a business. And so this network is really great. And one thing that we've talked about here on the podcast is that a lot of times when things like these models don't work is it's usually because standards aren't held up. And so
yep.
that execution or that accountability is often what can break first.
I think it's one of those things when you look at it, it's, I've had the opportunity in my career to work in a couple of different networks and the things that I see you guys working too at Penntek and doing a great job of and building more and more momentum every day with this is the networks I feel like that do really well are the ones that find like the same rhythm. They all get on the same page, right? It's a balancing act because as a local business owner that's, an affiliate dealer for whatever manufacturer I'm working with, I need to brand myself locally, but I also know that there is power when, my customer here in Richmond, Virginia has a sister in Minnesota that bought Penntek and tells me I need to buy a Penntek floor, right? So
Yeah.
when it when it becomes the Coca-Cola, so to speak, of concrete floor, like you go to a restaurant, you order a Coke, right? Or I don't
Yeah.
know, you guys up north order a pop or something like that, I think, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, but when you guys can do that and finding that balancing act is really important, but it's one of those things. And I think, like I said, you guys are doing a good job you do a good job of empowering business owners to still be independent and retain their identity, but still have that support. You're certainly not like taking total control over anything, but how do we make the message the same or similar across every single market so that from one place to the next, people are talking about this and looking for this name brand, not this product. And
Yep.
that's a big
Yep.
deal.
It is. And it's a challenge. Like it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money to be able to grow that. But certainly by using the collective power of our network, the goal is to create a brand that they're proud to stand behind.
Yeah. It's that empowerment both ways. And it really it's empowerment with a set of standards that we hold each other accountable to. We're going to hold up our end of the bargain. You do the same. And that's really where I think great networks separate themselves from the average ones or the ones you don't hear about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, like, honestly, we're so fortunate to have an owner in Kyle Baines that cares more about the product that he's putting in a bucket than anything else. I've seen, and I won't name the brands, but there are a lot of concrete coatings, franchise models, things like that, where it's like, boy, their marketing's really dialed. Like their sales and marketing, it looks good, it feels good, but their product is lacking. And so the fact that we've got an owner that's like, hey, I won't make any compromises. Literally, I just 2 weeks ago, we're talking about a product that he's been working on for a while, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, boy, it's really, really good. And Kyle's like, no, it's not there yet. Like, nope, the test isn't good enough. Like, if I'm going to release it, I want it to be the best on the market. I'm not willing to release something to our network that's good enough. Like, if we're going to do this, we're going to make the best product possible. And as the sales and marketing guy, sometimes that can be a challenge. But man, I have seen it pay off for him as the years have gone on, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the promise keeper and you're the promise maker. And so you got to both be speaking the same language. So question for you then, what does the future look like for this network? I know you have some regional meetings coming up. What's the maybe big vision for Penntek in 2026?
Yeah, 26 is going to be a fun year. I am a blissful optimist, but I would say that we're coming out of 2 really challenging years in the home improvement industry. I won't sugarcoat it. 4 and 25 were tough years, and they were tough years in just about every home improvement vertical. I am fortunate to have a decent sized network of people in home improvement, and a lot of people struggled, whether they were roofing, siding, window companies, all the way to luxury product like Penntek. It's been challenging. Everything we're seeing, a lot of the anecdotes, I was just talking to a dealer like 40 minutes ago before we jumped on this, who's like, man, I'm feeling good about this year. And what are you hearing? What are you seeing? We've got homeowners that right, wrong, or indifferent are staying in their homes a little bit longer than they have in the past. And so what that means is they want to improve their space. And so as opposed to like, hey, I'm just going to move and find a different home. No, I want to improve the home I'm in. And that's where luxury product like Penntek comes into play. People want additional living space. They really want their home to start in the garage, not through the garage door into the home. And that's what we're able to do. And so I'm pretty excited about the industry as a whole. As far as some of the stuff that we're working on at Penntek, I would just say I am just honored to work with the team that I get to work with every day. The sales team is really firing on all cylinders. I've got really just a terrific team that I get to support and work for every day. And one thing that we tested in 25 was these regional meetings, and our Northeast regional sales manager had experience doing this, and so we kind of beta tested it, and it felt really good. And so we've got 4 regional meetings this year where we're going to bring in experts both within the network and outside the network to be able to continue to learn, continue to get people that are way smarter than us in the same room, and be able to learn from each other. And so we're really excited. There's a lot of buzz around. Towards the middle of 25, we entered into a partnership with Home Depot, which has been very exciting. It took a long time to get here, but
Mhm.
we're here. And so we will be hitting national rollout with them this year. So we have been scaling pretty quickly over the last 6 months with them. And so excited to see what that can do for our dealers. Honestly, like this is an opportunity for them to really get some credibility in their markets to be able to be a trusted partner. Home Depot is huge, and we're able to work at a corporate level between Penntek and Depot. But very excited about that. We're working on some marketing stuff and some secret sauce behind the scenes. But it's going to be a good year. I'm very excited about 26.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. Jay, for the record, I got invited to some of those regionals. So
Oh,
he used the word expert. We're going to mark this
yeah.
down,
I like
celebrate it
that.
every
Yeah.
year.
Done
I'll
deal.
expect a cake or something like that from you,
You
Jay.
you
Yeah.
qualify. You bet. You bet.
Add that to your email signature.
I have to
Expert.
update my LinkedIn after this as well too.
Yeah.
So you talked about the struggles. Jay and I work with, people on the marketing side, on the sales side, and helping them generate leads, sell leads, but just consulting in general as well too. And one of the things that we're hearing constantly is it was tough, it was hard, lead costs were up, leads were down,
Yeah.
like all of these things. You mentioned COVID earlier, and in our world, that was a huge explosion. It was outside
Yeah.
of the norm of what we normally experience. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is maybe an influx that had happened over the last year or two here of, well, that looks interesting. I'm going to start my own business and do it. Now,
Yep.
instead of 4 people buying leads in your area, it's 24 people, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That presents a big challenge. But the reality of it is not everybody runs a great business.
Yep.
And if you're doing things the right way, putting the right team and culture in place and putting together the right strategies, to your point, 2026 has a really good outlook for you because you're going to capture a lot of that market share of all of those people that are picking off the one or two here or there. They're not going to
Exactly.
be around much longer. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so if you were willing to ride the storm or weather the storm rather, you're in a good spot at this point. And there's a lot to be optimistic about going into this year.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and that's where like we're just seeing concrete coatings becoming a more mature home improvement category. Like you could see it with one day bath replacement. Like I almost feel like we're 10 years behind the one day bath kind of journey. There was 30 brands in a city, right, that were doing one day baths, and now there's 3. And I don't think we're anywhere near that point because Lord knows I hear of a new concrete coatings company just about every other week here in Minneapolis. I'm hearing from more and more partners that are like, hey, my number 2, number 3 competitor closed their doors. Like, it's getting more mature. And so it's an opportunity for our partners and really anybody in the space. Like you're probably in an area where there isn't a defined winner yet. And so 26 is going to be the year where the rubber meets the road. Your competitors are going to have to win on price alone, which is a really dangerous game to play. It's much easier to win on brand and customer service and execution as opposed to like, I'm just going to keep slashing my prices until I get a backlog of business. Like that's almost music to my ears. Yeah, it's going to be a headache for a lot of our partners that are dealing with a competitor that slashed their prices to try to win business. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with it, but that's a short-term problem. To your point, like if you can weather that storm, it's going to pay off. It really is.
Yeah, we call him a chuck in a truck or a man in a van. And, we work with Steve Dodge at Platinum Concrete Coatings, and he and I did a competitor's analysis of his market, and a search came up with 90 names in his area that were tied to concrete coatings. 90.
Isn't that insane?
And so the last 2 years for him, we've had a lot of conversations around keep doing the right thing because these other people are going to come and go. You're established. You've got a history. This is frustrating, right? But keep at it. You talked about 2026 is a turnaround. I think a lot of people in the housing market kept waiting for something to happen. And COVID threw a wrench in what everybody thought they knew about, the economy and stuff. And so now people are going, all right, we're entering into year 3. Interest rates aren't going down. I think my house is at like 2.8% interest or something. It's like, I'm not going
So you're
anywhere.
never moving.
Yeah, right?
No.
So then I go, okay, well, the money that was going to be put towards the next house, it's sitting there. And so I think that a lot of people are looking at that. And on the social media side, people are re-engaging with this stuff. People are like, all right, it's time to do something. So we've had quite a few of our dealers say they've had the best January ever. So it's exciting to hear dealers coming back saying, not only have we raised our rates to offset cost of marketing and stuff like that, but we're still selling. Like a lot of them were really fearful of it, and they're like, no, we're still doing this. So we're excited for 2026 as well. There's a lot going on this year.
It's one of those, bringing back from what we were talking about earlier, lessons that, I pulled from earlier in my career working at a place like Renewal by Anderson. They're known as a premium product in their
Yep.
category, and they don't make apologies about that, right? Just like
Yep.
if you go to a Mercedes lot, those sales reps are never going to apologize for the price tag on it. You're going to get a very good quality car and great customer service for it.
Yep.
And I think the thing that separates like those type of companies in their categories is what they understand is we're going to do what Kyle's doing, right? We're going to care relentlessly about what goes into the bucket. But at the
Yep.
same time, we're going to be hyper focused on being a great sales and marketing organization that basically puts us in front of the right people at the right times with the right processes so that when those other companies who are just good installers, which nothing to be ashamed about on that end, but like you got to be good at that too. You can't forget about that. But you're not going to get where you need to go as often as you need to go. And then you're into that price slashing game like you're talking about. Eventually you slash enough, the lights have to turn off, right? And
Yeah.
can't write real well in the dark. That's a problem.
Right. Well, and I think being unapologetic that that's your brand, like that,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like there is nothing wrong in realizing that not every customer is your customer. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be people that you talk to that their number one goal is to get the cheapest product possible, the cheapest price point, and that's not our customer, and that's okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of concrete out there. There's a lot of homeowners that really do want the best option possible. They want that Mercedes Benz, right? There's a lot of car companies out there, and Mercedes is unapologetic in knowing that our customer is of a certain belief. And,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a lot of pressure. You got to maintain that brand integrity. You can't just charge the high price and say, well, yeah, we're the Mercedes. Like, no, everything else better come with it. The customer
Yep.
service better come with it. The sales presentation better come with it. The after install care better come with it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot
Yep.
to it, but it's a great opportunity. It's a vital piece. In the product category, somebody's got to be the highest price, and somebody's got to be the best customer service organization, and all of
Yeah, in
it.
our industry for a long time, there's been a race in one of two directions. You're either racing to the top or you're racing to the bottom.
Yep.
And the race to the bottom ends in misery. There's no doubt about that. And
Yeah.
I think that you make a great point about not apologizing for your price. And also if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. You got to be able to
You bet.
back it up. But we just did one of the monthly calls for the West Coast it was.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this price concept and not necessarily getting yourself tied up in that game. One of the conversations that came up from it was, well, how do you overcome it when somebody says, I have a quote that's for this versus what I'm charging? Let's just say it's $1,000, $2,000 more, whatever, right? And I asked the question of like, did you just do a presentation and explain all the things that you did? And I said, yeah. And I said, okay, well, then why are you justifying it? Why not just ask the question, why do you think there's a difference? Right.
Yep.
There has to be a difference. It can't just be that like I got a yacht being built in the harbor, right?
Right.
Somebody would notice the yacht being built and there would probably
Right.
be a couple of reviews online that I'm not, worth the money I'm charging people.
Okay.
So let the homeowner tell you why they think there's a difference. Well,
You bet.
it's because of X, Y, or Z. Like, yeah, that's probably why. So do you see where there could be a reason to spend more? It might not be in your budget, and I can respect that. But at the end of the day, if it was, don't you think it would make sense to spend a little bit more to get something that's a lot more quality? Right. And that's where you got to stand.
I almost get nervous when, I talk to a lot of dealers, and it's like, I almost get nervous when they're like, oh, well, my competitor is $300, $400, $500 less than me. And I'm like, ooh, they're only $300, $400, $500 less than you. Like I've talked to so many dealers that are like, we raised our prices so that we are $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 more. Because if I get two bids and you just gave a masterful sales presentation, you told me how much better your company is from customer experience, from installation, from post installation care, things like that, the price tag better be different
Yeah.
because they're paying for something that's different. And so I encourage so many of our dealers, like, hey, you want to be considerably more than your competition because people sniff that out pretty quick.
It's funny. I went on, this is several months ago now, though, but I got a chance to ride along with a couple of reps from Epic, the dealer in North Dakota, and customer said, oh, well, this other company's got a price for whatever it was. I can't remember now off the top of my head. And I couldn't help myself. I was trying to be a fly on the wall, but I just went, oh, man, they must have raised their prices recently. And the rep that I was riding with about spit his water out on the table. I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe you just said that, right? But it's like, that's crazy. They must know what we're charging, so they know they got more room to put
Yep.
more dollars on top of their price. And the homeowner kind of looked at us and was like, Oh, so yeah, they used to be quite a bit less than that. They should be quite a bit less than that, if I'm being honest. But it's just different. It's different what they
Yeah.
do. It's different what we do. There's good people that work there. You know, nothing against the people. It's just a different process and a different product,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
it's just up to you to decide what makes most sense for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I love
And
that.
let's shift gears here a little bit. You got a new addition to the family, which is
Yeah.
cutting into the sleep a little bit more for you.
Yeah.
But congrats again on that. But
Thank you.
I think what's interesting, Jay's a father, I'm a father too, and that work life balance is something that we're all kind of maybe striving for as best we can anyway. But being maybe the VP of a national company and you're traveling and on the road on a regular basis, we had a chance to talk a little bit about that last time you were in town. Um, and with the kids now, how do you do it? The new addition, and obviously the heavy responsibility of leading the team that you have, and being VP of a national organization here. How do you manage that balance for yourself? How do you make all that work?
Yeah. I'm a Christian and I love Jesus, and I don't think I could do it outside of my faith. And I also married the right woman. I've got a wife at home that supports me every single day. She is just absolute. I mean, everybody says their wife is their biggest cheerleader, but I can really safely say that she's mine. And, I would say that she picks up all of my weaknesses, and my weaknesses almost mirror her strengths. And so I think part of it is I think you can be unapologetic in wanting to be the best in what you do. And that should go in every area of your life. First and foremost, I want to be the best Christian. I'm going to answer to somebody someday on that regard of things. I'm going to be the best husband that I can be, and I'm going to be the best father. And those are the three most important things for me. And then after that, it's work. And, I think it's okay to be like, hey, I'm going to strive for greatness in all those areas. And it's not like you have to pick one area to really succeed in. Now, there are going to be seasons where certain things will take priorities, and that's okay too. My business mentor, he and I were meeting, and we were kind of joking around about the season of life that I had started to step in. We had just had our second, and he's like, something has to give, and so there's going to be something, and there's going to be seasons where it's like, hey, maybe we're going to focus more on one area than the other, but to realize that I almost think that by trying to be the best husband, father, person that I can be, all the areas of my life are probably going to level up as a result. And so if I'm just trying to be a really good husband, a really good friend, a really good father, my assumption is that I'm probably going to be a better leader and a better employee as a result of it. But to realize that we've only got 24 hours in a day. And so one of the core values that I stole from my last company that I brought to Penntek, which has become one of our core values, is ruthless prioritization. And so there just comes a point where I've got my notebook next to me with everything that I have to do this week. And if something keeps getting kicked down the list, right? If I keep prioritizing other things above that thing, there's going to come a point where I need to cross that thing off the list because it's probably not a priority. And I think being unapologetic of that is really important. And really to establish your non-negotiables. My wife and I have established how many weeks a year that I'm allowed to travel. I travel a lot. And I'm gone a lot, and that's hard. But we kind of came to an agreement that this is our number, and I was able to go to my owner and my boss and say, hey, this is the number of weeks that my wife and I have agreed upon that I can be gone, and I'm going to ask that you respect that. And I vividly remember end of 24, I had hit my number, and he had said, hey, I need you to buzz down. It was in December. Hey, I need you to buzz down there. And I was like, hey, I'm at my cap. And it was really cool to have a boss and to have a leader that said, okay, totally understood. We'll reschedule that trip when it makes sense. And so I think there's a myth of work-life balance. I think it's almost impossible to keep everything in harmony, but to realize that there's going to be seasons of ebbs and flows on what you need to focus on. But man, if you can keep the main thing, like I said, I think if I wake up every day just trying to be a better dad and a better husband, I think everything else is probably going to fall in line.
Yeah.
So that's a tough question. I haven't figured it out yet. If you know the answer, I am all ears. I'm
working on it myself every day. I get it wrong quite often. I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's one of the things that I like to say is to say yes to something, you have to say no to a million other things. Yeah, and that ruthless
Yep.
prioritization is so important because the silly example is food. If you say yes to that gas station burrito, you said no to every single other food on the planet. And so recognizing that to say yes to one thing, you say no to just a multitude of other things, you do have to be very deliberate. And what is the thing that I put in front of me, day after day? Right now, there's kind of this, we follow some, pretty strong personalities out there. Gary Vaynerchuk's one that comes to mind, but also like Elon Musk and some other guys out there that can just outwork everybody. And they say, to be truly elite, to be a top 1% or whatever, in a lot of cases, they claim you can't turn it off. And I agree with you, Jake, that work-life balance is really a myth. There's more of an ebb and flow. But interesting story. This weekend, there was a football game going on. I don't know what it was, right? But the head coach of the Seahawks was getting flack for comment he made about only seeing his kid 30 minutes a week. And others are defending him, saying, well, that's what it takes to do, operate at that level. And it is pretty interesting. I have a interesting story in my coaching world. I coached a cardiac surgeon, and she'd put in ungodly amounts of hours every week at the clinic, at Mayo Clinic here. And she was really struggling with it because she had 2 young kids, and they'd say, Mommy, you're always gone. We miss you. And so we kind of talked through it. And I said, well, to say yes, you have to say no. So what do we want to do? And we kind of agreed that she should include her children in the passion that she has for saving lives. And what she did is really awesome. She gets to go to a hospital and open up people's chests and save them when they have a failing valve or a failing heart. And so initially the children were, Mommy, don't leave. And over time, that conversation changed to, Mommy, are you going to go save people's lives today?
Yeah.
And so being able to acknowledge that for a season, you're going to be really busy in one place, you can invite family into it, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And that's where, like, you touched on it, Jay, like there's going to be season. It's a terrible example, but like I'm in this season of life where I travel a lot for work. And so when I'm home, I need to be 100% home. And so, hey, I love to play golf. Guess what? I play less golf today than I ever have. I'm getting beers with the boys less today than I ever have. But guess what? That means that when I'm home, I'm hanging out with the kids. I'm taking my wife on a date. I'm trying to spend time with the people that really, really matter, and realizing that, some friendships may be delayed, or, hey, I'm not going to see you more than once every other month or something like that. And that's okay, because my responsibility at the end of the day is to my family, right? That's what's important. And I also think that you brought up the Seahawks coach. It's like, it's okay to realize that I care far more about raising 4 individuals that are going to love each other and love their family and love Jesus than whatever I do in my vocation.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm sorry. I'm going to put food on the table and I'm going to provide for my family, but I have no interest in being a 1%er Elon Musk. I gave up on that dream a long time ago because I have no interest in what's going to need to be required of me to do that. And that's okay too.
That is totally okay. Yeah.
It's funny. We talked about having, plenty of time. I don't know. I might be running out of time to catch up to those guys anyway at this point in my life and career as far as the bank accounts go, that's for sure. So it's probably okay to shelf that, with that in mind as well. But I think it is an interesting, I guess, maybe for lack of a better way of saying it, like a lie that we maybe sell to like young entrepreneurs that are getting out started, and that you do have to totally sacrifice everything for your business. But truth be told, I think some of the most successful people, at least that, I know, and I know Jay knows a lot of the same people, are very grounded by their family. That's a big part of their why, and it's a big part of what keeps them going. And it's also that break, like you said, when I can disconnect from the business and be able to have that family time. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you bet. And I think that being a better family man makes you a better business person. I don't believe they're mutually exclusive. And I think that's a lie that we've been sold for a long time, that in order to be a successful business person, your family has to suffer, and vice versa. Like, I just don't believe it. But something's got to give, right? So ruthless prioritization, it's important. I literally, my wife and I were joking around about it. We had a to-do list a mile long for our home before my 4th daughter was born. And I was like, all right, what do we actually have to get done? And she's like, are you ruthless prioritizing me right now? I was like, 100%. I'm like, we're doing it. Like, we're going to make a list and we're going to put it in order. So
that's really good.
Carryover.
That's funny.
I like it.
Question for you. Something maybe like an eye roll. And I agree with you about marrying the right woman and having that team member in the house to just champion you and that you can champion. Most of us have gotten eye rolls from our wives. Maybe it's a dad joke or, whatever it is. But can you think of maybe a decision you've made for the business side of your life that your wife initially maybe thought was absolutely crazy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I stayed at my last company much longer than my wife wanted to. And I can't stress this enough. My wife's the most incredible person I know. And And she sat and knew that I needed to move on from that organization probably 2 years before I was ready for it. And
Yeah.
she didn't pressure me. She didn't bring it up constantly. I wasn't badgered. She asked thought-provoking questions, but
Mhm.
she almost saw through what I couldn't see through at the moment, of
Yeah.
where we were going as an organization. She knew some of the pitfalls and challenges that I had there. But what I think is really cool is she's never said I told you so. Even long after I left that company and I was at Penntek, and I said, man, I wish I would have left a long time ago. She never said I told you so. She said, yep.
Yeah.
She said, I knew you had to come to that realization on your own. And so now what that's turned into is I probably go to my wife for career advice more than anybody else on the
Mm.
planet. When I get home from work, a lot of times I get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and I'm not ready to talk about work yet. Like maybe I'm
Uh-huh.
dealing with some challenges or things like that. And a lot of times it's like, hey, how was work? And I'm like, not right now. We're not going to talk about work right now. Hey, once
Yeah.
the kids are in bed and once we're sitting down, we can chat about that. But really to realize that there's probably nobody that has a more of a vested interest in seeing my success at work than my wife, and to realize
Mhm.
that she was just an incredible salesperson prior to her staying home with our kids. And so I really value her opinion. And so there's so many times that
Mhm.
I come to her and I'm like, hey, how would you play this? And to realize
Yeah.
that she's obviously got my best interest in mind, but is really a good confidant to kind of bounce those things off of. But I definitely, my wife is gracious and does not remind me that she told me so, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's important, I think, life advice or marriage advice, especially probably on our side of the equation. Like, definitely, we don't get to do that ever
Yeah.
for sure. But it's funny because I have a very similar story. I was at a role where I was not thrilled with what I was doing, but I'm one of those guys that it was a good, really good paying job, and it was
Mhm.
putting food on the table in a very good way for our family. And I'm going to go keep digging the ditch as long as it takes to provide for the family. My wife maybe was a little bit more direct. She knows that I need that. Like, I'm like the guy that needs the football coach yelling in his face at times. And she was like, you need a new job, like now.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Mhm.
why? She was, because you're just turned into it at home. Like,
Yeah.
you're just angry all the time. You're
Yep.
frustrated and you're not you. Change jobs. And I was like,
Yep.
okay. She's like, I don't care if you make $1 a day, just do something different.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And it's funny because it's what led me into the home remodeling space. By chance, it worked out perfectly. She might not tell me it's by chance. It's because I made the best decision ever and married her, which I
Yep.
wouldn't disagree with her at all in that regard.
This has been a lot of good conversations going on. So we do have to land the plane eventually. So how about we throw some rapid fire questions at you, Jake?
Yeah. Done deal.
All right. So question one, what's more important, talent or work ethic?
Work ethic every time, every
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I've seen that in my own life. I've seen it in a lot of other people's. I just think that, yeah, that's an easy one. I think you can grind your way. But I also think being humble enough to learn from people that are
Mm,
smarter than you. Sometimes people that have a strong work ethic, they almost just grit their teeth and work their way out of it
mhm.
instead
Sure.
of seeking advice and seeking wisdom from other people. They're like, oh, I'm just going to work 10 times harder. Well, you may only have to work a couple times harder
Yeah.
if you seek the right wisdom and figure out the best course of action. But yeah, I think
Sure.
grit's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I love it. All right. How about one? You get just one book recommendation for a leader, one that they have to read.
Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Oh,
That's a good one.
I have reread it twice now. Fortunately, like I mentioned, I got to come up through the business world underneath a super integrity filled boss who led
Mhm.
teams the right way, and to realize that ultimately the buck stops with you if you're a leader. And I was just having this conversation with Kyle. I have never once apologized for the action of a teammate or a team member, or somebody on my team, and been chastised for it. Hey, I'm
Uh-huh.
so sorry. I messed up. The buck stops with me. It's ultimately my fault that this happened. I have never been walked out because of that. I've never, faced
Uh-huh.
significant repercussions. Like, we're all just trying our best. But I think
Yeah.
to realize that at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. That's a
Yeah.
huge superpower in leading a team. And so
Yeah.
that's a
I like
It
it.
is a good book, and the stories in it are just wild. Great book. All right.
yeah.
So, next question. If you could, what is one industry practice that you would eliminate forever?
Yeah. Um, Boy, that's a tough question. Is it possible to say remove misleading marketing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be careful. cut. I'm just kidding.
I just think that so many times we try to oversell our product. You know what I mean? I talked to a customer, this was like 3 weeks ago. She was super upset that her concrete cracked after a coating was applied. And I was like, hey, ma'am, I need to explain this to you. The thickness of our coating is about that of a credit card. If I could stop the shifting of the earth, I would not be working for Penntek Industrial Coatings. Like
Yeah, that's
I
right.
literally can't, but a salesman somewhere along the way and marketing to support it oversold the product, and people are realistic and they understand there are limitations. So I would almost say that would be one, like the overselling of any home improvement product. That would come to mind pretty quickly for me.
Yeah,
It's a good one. You kind of segue a little bit into the next one here for you. You mentioned us salespeople maybe overselling some stuff at times. So what is the most important quality, in your opinion, for a salesperson to have?
I would say it comes back to like a curiosity to figure out the need behind the need. Like I think every salesperson, when they walk in, and I don't care if you're selling B2B, B2C, whatever it may be, there's a need behind the need. So it's not just you want your concrete coated today. What's the real driver behind that? What do you want the space to be used for? Why do you want your garage to be easier to clean? For our standpoint, okay, you want to stand up a new vertical in your business. Why is that? You've been a roofing, siding, window, gutter company for 40 years. Why today did you call me to talk about installing a new home improvement product? And so I think like if salespeople can go in with a general curiosity and to realize that they're an advocate for a customer, you do away with a lot of the slimy salesman vibe. And if you can go in as a salesperson and be like, hey, my job is to solve a problem, and to realize at the end of our conversation, sometimes the best solution is to look them in the eye and say, the product that I'm selling today cannot solve your problem. And that is 100% okay. We inside sales team talks with people all the time where they're looking at a new vertical, and by the end of the conversation, they're like, nah, I don't think this is the right fit for you. And that's a beautiful response. I love hearing our sales team say that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think the thing that we work with sales teams and helping them sharpen their skills, and one of the things I preach on a regular basis is the power is in your follow-up question, the second or third question you ask, not the first one. Right? It shows that you listened, that you cared, and that you want to know more. That's a big deal. So that's a good one.
Yeah, and we've talked on the show about the why shovel, using why a couple of times in a row. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? You're going to get to the heart of it. I want to throw a shout out to Keith Campbell. He's the general manager of Polytech of Rochester here in town. And he says, I want to be the first person into the home, even if I'm not the solution. I just love that attitude towards it. Like you said, you get in the house and you look over the project with them, and you might not be the right fit, but what you're going to do is have that customer go, man, they couldn't even help me, but they were so gracious and they came with answers. I ended up, needing my patio report or whatever it is. They're going to call Keith back when it's time to actually get that coating that they're looking at. So, good stuff. Good answer. Last one. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from your kids about leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I would say patience is probably the canned answer. But I would also say like having a short-term memory on mistakes made. Like if I've learned anything, it's that I don't know of any salespeople that I've ever worked with or led that I think had ill intent for the business, and mistakes get made. I make mistakes every single day. And I think it's important as a leader to have a short-term memory on that stuff. And I think as an employee, it's important to say offering an apology goes a really long ways, and to own your mistakes. I mean, that is just crucial. And so somebody that comes to you and says, hey, I messed up. It was a beautiful moment. My 4-year-old daughter, she's like a bull in a china shop. She was annoying her brothers or something like that. And then she said, Dad, I'm sorry. Do you know how quickly I forgave her? Like, not just because she's my daughter, but because she owned it. In any business scenario, in any business case, in any life situation, I have found so few instances where if I offered a sincere apology, the person I apologized to almost always forgives me. As long as I didn't have anything nefarious behind me, as long as there wasn't anything that, I'm trying to hide or anything like that. Like if you offer a sincere apology, especially as a leader, like you better be willing to forget that pretty quickly, if it's a forgivable offense, right? We're all just trying. And so I think that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is really good.
Jake, it's been an awesome conversation. I'm excited for the regional meetings coming up. I'm
They're gonna be
definitely going to
great.
be looking to steal a couple more nuggets from you at those when we're in attendance there. But yeah, the coverage here from your journey from intern to VP, which is a cool one, man, for sure. I think you've dropped a ton of knowledge and value here for those that listen. And man, thank you a lot for your time.
Thank you guys so much. This was great. We'll talk soon.
And for everyone listening, big takeaway here is about building while balancing. Great conversations, whether it's your business network, your growing family, the principles that we've discussed about clear communication and humility, investing in people. I like the ruthless prioritization. Great stuff. So if you guys want to connect with Jake on LinkedIn, go do so, and definitely check out what they're doing at Penntek Industrial Coatings.
Ring that bell, subscribe to the show here. We appreciate it because you're not going to want to miss our next episode. We have a good one coming up here.
Yeah, that's right. Next week, we are excited to be joined by, well, Fitz, I guess, by royalty, right?
Yeah, that is right. We have the Queen herself will be joining us. So you're definitely not going to miss that one. Make sure you tune in. So, Jake, thank you, sir.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yep.
Well, until next time, Jake.
Yep. See everybody later.
We'll see you. Happy hunting, everybody.